What's up, guys? DJ is running just a couple minutes late, so I'll give him a couple minutes to get in here. But yeah, we have a 16-game NHL slate here on the docket, so hard at work making sure we turn over every stone, cross our I's, dot our T's. Just how we do it in the Morningscape podcast. We try things, we do it the wrong way though. But no, we're here. Some breaking Buffalo-based news where it sounds like the Sabres game is on as scheduled, but the Bills game for tomorrow has been moved. So a development, I'll say. So DJ, how you doing?
Hi. Oh, good. I'm standing for this one because I made my desk into a standing desk, and I was getting everything ready, and my computer's like, "You have to restart now." And I was like, "Jesus." No, I was just sealing my windows. Normal stuff. I was like checking. I was like, "How much wind is getting in?" And by our living room, it was freezing. So I just spent like an hour cleaning and sealing windows because we got a storm coming. But so does Houston. A storm is coming.
Oh boy, that's right. Yeah, big day.
Talk for a second. I got to put my lighting.
Sure. Yeah, I'm literally on the laptop camera because 16 games. Hey, there's more important things than trying to figure out setup behind me. But yeah, with that, I spent like an hour before the show and didn't even make it to all the games. So I'll be checking into some later morning skates as we go here. But yeah, we have a game starting at 1:00. So right away, let's see. I can share my early slate, and then during the show I'll update it to the late slate because there's so many games. My template literally cannot I literally cannot fit all of the games without like redeveloping things, and I didn't want to do that. So let's see.
All right, I think I'm just gonna go like this today. You're gonna get a view up at. I don't know what's gonna be best. I really don't. I think this is probably good.
Perfect.
Enough.
Let's see.
This way.
So here we go.
Look all over the place.
So yeah, we have 4 games in the earlier side of things, and then 12 games starting at 7 or later. So first up at 1:00, we clearly have a Rangers team heading into Washington, playing a good bit better than the Capitals. We're keeping an eye out for Ovi and Tom Wilson on the Cap side and Zibanejad on the Rangers side. So before we talk about the games, just quickly overviewing, and then we have 3 games starting at 4. The Florida-New Jersey game is at 6:00. And we see pretty clearly that New Jersey's taken a bit of a cliff dive. They're still playing okay defensively, but their offense is just dried up without Jack Hughes. And then we have Buffalo, Vancouver, Ottawa, San Jose as well on the slate. So not a very fun one if you're in the DFS streets here. But we will be going game by game, looking through some of the news, some of the bets, and some of the fantasy related elements, should you be so inclined. The last thing I wanted to do was just quickly go over some players on the right side here. This is expected fantasy points per game, but you see on this slate, the top of the list is Matthew Tkachuk. Seems like the boy's back. So DJ, I'll throw it to you, and I will go check the Rangers and Capitals warm-ups.
Yeah, no, I mean, this 16-game slate, I still remember. It was right after the last time we had this where I was like, oh my God, January, that's got to be like, they must have picked a weekend where there's no football. And the fact that they did it on Wildcard Weekend is hilarious. I think that there's quite a bit of edge on the board, but nothing in the world has made me happier this week than the fact that I can now bet parlay props together. Definitely want to go over that a little bit while we talk. Do you have access to that yet? Did you looked, right? You didn't?
I do not. No,
no.
I
okay.
I can't. Go ahead.
No, it's like I'm just going to, while we're looking again, like let's just say, for example, I was going to line. So minus 155 on the Rangers, right? Just as an example. And then we go to Ottawa and we say, what's Ottawa? Minus 240, 245 might be. What is going to be a good? I want something that's minus. Like what we want to figure out is How much are we losing? Here we go. Minus 135 over 6.5 in Colorado and Montreal, or and Toronto and Avalanche. So that's a plus 186. So this is definitely showing me that there's going to be some, extra taken out on the same game point parlay, but it really isn't as much as I thought it would be. Still got to do some work on that. I haven't had a ton of time, but this is going to be something I'm going to can't bet. Very, very. I just don't know if we have anything in the sports world that is as obviously correlated as something like this. I really can't think of anything, unless it maybe touchdowns and a receiving touchdown. But even that is sort of like an example of something that's like so obviously correlated and that we're not really losing much edge on.
Yeah. Yeah. The main idea is that they're sort of like theoretically in the NFL, the quarterback can throw to any of his wide receivers, and there could be 5 of them active for game day 6 or whatever. It's clearly it's going to be 1 or 2 for the most part, plus tight ends, plus running backs. There's a lot of options, but generally where the ball's going. In hockey, there's only 5 guys on the ice at the same time, and a goal scorer usually gets 2 assists. I think it's something like 90 to 91% of goals have 2 assists. And then, there's some more that are unassisted and, fewer that are, I guess, more that have 1 assist and fewer that are just completely unassisted. Just given the way, it's threaded. It's not like basketball where you need to make the play that sort of causes the basket. It's just, if you touch the puck, you get an assist. There you go. You got it. And so I do think that's a really lucrative market to capitalize on early. I just can't imagine that the books have a sophisticated enough correlation system between individual players to make it worthwhile, to protect themselves from, I guess, like people who are being attentive. Not having the ability to test specific players and specific combinations myself, I don't know where that edge lies, but it is something that I would certainly encourage people to look into if they are interested in betting on hockey games and are in a state where they can do single game parlays. We'll touch on some particular spots where the players are like mega correlated, and then just test around between like that player and maybe a slightly less correlated player to see if the book is picking up on that or not, because my guess is they are not, but we'll see, I suppose. And last thing, it's always handy to have a betting parlay calculator up, just to see how much like of the odds you're giving up by making it a correlated, single game parlay. And you can do some quick math, while you're working on things. But anyway, we do have 16 games here. 1 o'clock is coming up fast. So let's get started, at least covering the early slate of action. DJ, was there anything on this early window that like particularly stands out to you? Do you just want to go through game by game?
I mean, the Rangers just got a little bit more juice to them, and the player props for all of the Capitals appeared. So I don't know if something happened. You said you looked at warm-ups.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just about to kind of go over a couple little things, and everything disappeared on me, and I was like, oh, great, perfect timing. I did just run a small test, but of course my computer's having an issue with it. It's 162 minus 135. 2 completely uncorrelated events, as I mentioned, equal plus 181. So now I can't find anything exact, but minus 150 and minus 130, so both of them a bit better odds, is plus 144, which doesn't seem that insane of a difference. And you're getting I'm saying like they're not the exact same 1 for 1. I'm trying to find a perfect scenario. So I'm going to try to now just look for a minus 130, minus 150 to match it with. Now that, but this really doesn't seem like there's much of a. So like, is go to puck luck, go to your player props. So I use it every single day when I'm doing this. Or even if you have another thing you're using. Ehlers is going to stand out. I mean, not definitely on this, but Ehlers has been a standout player in this category often. Just the books haven't caught up. And Gabe Velarde has been one that stood out often as one of the best point props on the entire board. You can put them together. I know last game kind of got lucky. Like they both scored 2 goals, whatever. Right? It's not like a big science. It's not as mentioned. Assist secondary.
DJ, your internet is awful.
And you can even have a player like Ehlers carry the puck in, do all the work, and then I'm not surprised. It's an absolute. I mean, we are in a very bad storm here in Buffalo, so I'm not surprised at all.
Okay. Well, I heard about half of what you said.
I'll reset.
The other
Let me
half
reset.
was okay.
I will
It
reset.
was pretty robot-y.
I'll reset.
Yeah. So where we are on Washington and the Rangers is that Zibanejad is confirmed in, Ovi is confirmed out, and Tom Wilson is confirmed in. So um, I'm wondering if we do get the odds back on the board in time, but Max Pacioretty stands out to me as a way to capitalize on this situation. I have to imagine he sort of he led the team in time on ice last game, like straight away. Yeah, I'm not seeing any lines posted currently, so actually that's for tomorrow's game. Hold on, sorry. Let's see. Okay, so I see. Yep, just Rangers. Okay, so if the Caps pop back up before game time, I am looking at Max Pacioretty. I don't know what the power play looks like on Ovi, but no, Patches has that in his arsenal, being a trigger man on the flank. So clearly, if you're looking for an Ovi replacement, that's a good option. But we saw the Rangers have a very good matchup here. I think you keep it simple and you roll with Vinny Trocheck. If you want to be slightly more safe, you could go Artemi Panarin. But those two guys have been playing great. Chris Kreider's fine with Zibanejad in, especially. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like here. The Caps are playing pretty poorly. Interestingly, without Ovi, it might be a Bedard-like situation where like the team just gets better because they're not focused on offense. Like they're focusing only on defense because that's the horses they have. Like we've seen in Chicago, clearly Chicago is apt to give up a ton of goals, today or whenever. But like we saw them hold Edmonton to 15 shots without Bedard. And that's the sort of game plan they could be trying to instill in Washington here. So I think I like point props on the Rangers more than shot props, but it's certainly the guys in New York, and there's not much else to say about it. So, DJ, I don't know how much of that you heard, but I think unless you had something really in depth, we should just move on to the next game.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. That's right.
Hello. Okay, you can hear me now. Okay, good. Yeah, I reset it and everything looked good, and then I think it just took a second to buffer back in. Nothing really, in my opinion, is like absolutely unbelievable in this game that I feel like is an absolute must bet type of situation. I think if you want to just play a safe parlay or something, you can easily go with something of the Trocheck nature, because it just Panarin so much. I think Kreider's been a lot better. That's a player that I've also been kind of keying in on, especially for point props. Puck Luck has this as basically a dead pick 'em, so there's really no edge in it. Minus 105 or plus 105, so a small, I guess, lean. I'm guessing towards the Capitals. Lean towards the Capitals, but it's a close game. It's a 6 total. That again, there's things that are obviously going to get there, but I don't feel incredibly confident on individual prop that I think is incredible.
Okay.
The ultra safe bet of the day, it would be like take the minus 1.5 Caps.
Okay. Yeah, and hey, that's sort of in line with they try and keep it close, and they maybe even get better defensively without OV. So San Jose and Ottawa, just starting off the 4 o'clock window. I'm not sure exactly what order you would like to go in here. But on the San Jose front, we're getting no changes. So like Blackwood starts, they finally won a game. So you can't change anything. Which means, interestingly, Mark-Edward Vlasic played 21 minutes last game. That immediately stood out to me because he is, not a very good hockey player. But more importantly, in the player prop space, just checking, okay, his block shots got pulled, but it was there lastly, and I hovered on it, didn't pull the trigger. The other thing for San Jose that's really interesting, as I pull up the hockey viz of last game, let's see. I need to, okay. So Zetterlund played 21 minutes. So, again, we're not seeing a change in like Logan Couture's status. He remains out. Zetterlund here, power play 1, played alongside Hurdle, and even killed some penalties, it looks like, playing 20 minutes. Any of his props, I think, are good. I am firmly in the camp that this Ottawa team is pure trash. They are still going to be without Josh Norris, it appears. And so I'm perfectly fine to just, take advantage of what the books are saying is a minus 245 Ottawa game. And like, sure, maybe Ottawa wins, but I do think San Jose puts up some offense here. You can see Ottawa's defense has been horrible. Their goaltending's been even worse. So my interest is in Zetterlund. But yeah, that's San Jose. DJ, any Ottawa thoughts here? I should also pull up the lines we have. We got lines Kachuk, Greg, Giroux, Tarasenko, Stützle, Batherson. So a slight tweak from last game on the second line here.
Oh yeah, I mean, I there is a lot of puck luck really does still like Ottawa to have a lot of shots, and while they're bad, that would really, in my opinion, only help to give them more opportunity to have their top guys shooting. They're still rolling those top guys quite a bit. I'm kind of leaning towards Brady myself. It's just like 3.5, but I don't care. You can put that together. It's juiced as hell, but minus 120 for both of them also kind of feels fine up with that power play correlation. And just the fact that they only need to get one is, I think pretty doable. Whereas like Stützle's still 1.5, like he's got to get 2, and you're kind of a dangerous team if one line dominates completely. So I'm kind of between those things. Batherson's of note. I'm kind of always looking at him. We have right now Blackwood for 30.19 saves on puck luck. That's a ton. That makes sense. Still a lot to get there, and I buy it though. So I don't think there's much that's going to talk about going a shot prop, unless if Matt, you think that minus 120 for Giroux and Brady to have a point is better. What do you think?
Yeah, Giroux feels really thin. Like, I know his role is pretty entrenched, but like, I mean, he's just not been doing much of anything. But I mean, so I think default to either a one-off like Ottawa thing, or like a Batherson Stützle would be my preferred way to stack up on Ottawa personally. So
yeah, but you're getting a 1.5 on Stützle, which yeah. So
yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, I would be interested to see what those odds are, honestly, but clearly that's something only you can do. So we can move on to Vancouver and Buffalo. Again, keep an eye on this game.
Oh my God, you hear me?
Yes.
Plus 208 to get 1 and Stützle to get 1.5. Over, obviously over and both. Okay. So 2. About double the odds, but
in any case, Vancouver Buffalo here. Keep an eye on the status of the game itself, of course, but assuming it plays, Tage is a question mark. We're expecting him to play based on some of the beats I've seen, but it's not set in stone by any means. Granato was pretty confident yesterday that he would be available, but if he's not, Zach Benson would step into the top power play based on practice yesterday. So that's not nothing. Tage looked incredible on Thursday night, so you're definitely riding a hot hand there as far as like he's been a bit down all season long as far as his rate, as far as his just general Tageness. But I think this is a good spot for him to come in against a Vancouver team where like the line is minus 155 Vancouver. They have that one line that's doing a bunch of stuff and not a ton else in their lineup. Like it's basically the first line and a bunch of nobodies at this point. And so they should get Tage, some good matchups, and that's the player I would like. That's more of a fantasy angle though, because as of right now, that's not being listed on the props, because he's a question mark. And so I guess they're just not including him on the guide. Andrei Kuzmenko, power play 1, Lucy in the football, have right at it if you would like to. He's really cheap in DFS, but we've seen this movie before, so don't say you haven't been warned. Any thoughts here, DJ?
I mean, Brock Besser, they just keep making his point prop even worse, and it's minus 166 now. It was, I know Buffalo is like not as bad defensively as you might think, but they give up goals in bunches. They're, it's weird. I feel like they're better at. I don't even know what it is. Like, actually, can you pull up your thing again? I mean, has it been bad in the past 10?
As far as
I don't
the
know.
underlyings for the Sabres.
Yeah. I honestly I feel like every time I think they're getting better, I look again and they're a disaster.
Let's see.
But yeah.
Slightly above average
so
defensively.
Yeah, slightly above average.
Below
again.
average
it's
based on goals.
That's kind of what I was saying. So glad to verify what I was kind of getting at. But even with online, Miller and Besser. I mean, could you parlay it all together and have fun and be a degenerate like I'm probably going to do? Sure, you absolutely can do that. But I think just in a larger scale, just Besser minus 166 for a point. That's the guy they want shooting the puck. So while carrying it in, and you could lose a bit of I don't know if that's really a great or a bad thing. I've seen them play and I've seen them not get involved on a point just because they score so quick on a rush. But when it does seem that way for sure. And he is absolutely rolling right now. I think his is the best in the game for a point. And then the Sabres is kind of obviously it's just a wait and see at this. We just can't do much of anything until I know if Tage is in or out. I think I'm giving up on Tuck. That was painful. He didn't really look dangerous. And I think if I do bet a prop here, whether Tage is in or out, I think I go to Quinn. He's on the top. He was on the top power play, and they scored. I just think that he is extremely talented, and he's has been their best line as far as producing offense.
Yeah, and they were using Quinn on the top power play too, which we didn't get confirmed in practice yesterday, but we just saw Benson was replacing Tage. But Quinn was in the Cousins role or the Olofsson role, Middlestat sort of.
Exactly.
Middlestat's replacing Skinner now, so. But Quinn was on that top unit.
Yeah,
is what's important.
It was Dahlin. Like remember last year when we talked about, and again one game, but last year we talked about on the first power play was in one of those roles. Like the puck was going through Tage, Dahlin, and Quint. I mean, again, they had like one power play and they scored. So I'm even more biased now by the fact that it was successful. But I do think that like if Quinn is offered for a power play point, which he's not right now, I would be really enticed if you could find that. If they score. And this is a long road trip for Vancouver. You can kind of yada yourself into whatever you want, but not much offered by this. Quinn is not offered for a point.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that I do find very interesting as I try to get a 15 leg parlay in.
Yeah.
It seems like they're just putting in players right now. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, well, who knows? Maybe they're on your internet and they're just unable to do anything quickly. All right. So the last game of the early window. Go ahead. Okay,
I said I'm going to mute myself. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the last game in the early window, New Jersey and Florida. We have confirmation that New Jersey is running out the same lines as they did last game. Because of all the injuries, it's worth revisiting what those actually looked like and how the minutes unfolded. I was particularly interested from a fantasy perspective in this Nemec-Smith pairing. Because Smith is so terrible, they just got no minutes. Nemec has been getting a bunch of minutes. Clearly, that was not the case here in a very close game. So kind of out goes that idea. I do think Luke Hughes is interesting. He's going to keep the power play one. You see down here, Nemec was with the top unit, but there was a morning skate, and we saw Luke Hughes practicing with the top unit. That top unit consisting of Mercer in place of Jack Hughes and, the other Hischier, Bratt, Toffoli. So the number one unit with a bullet for sure. What's interesting is that Mercer's here on the top line with Heischer and Holla. They were truly the top line last game. Like Toffoli played 15 minutes and Mercer played 22. So I do like Mercer a whole lot. Heischer, a bit more tepid because he's not really been the rates player that I was expecting to be this season, especially without Jack Hughes in the lineup. Um, but I'd also have no problem stacking the Brat McLeod Toffoli pairing and just hoping that they get there via some efficiency and not Toffoli playing 20 minutes or anything like that. So anything on the Devils front stand out to me? I think it's Luke Hughes plus money for a point and just sort of bet on the power play clicking versus anything to do with minus money on these Florida pieces who I like, but it's not totally stand out to me.
Yeah, I think if you're kind of putting your nuts on the table, like Matt Tkachuk for 2 points is plus 165. Like on the other side of things, on this side of things, I think rationally, I'm pretty sure they have Mercer for a point. I don't think that's incorrect. But like he is involved in. I mean, he's playing with Nico Hischier. Nico Hischier is 1.5 shots. I don't love that. Is he really? Yeah, he's plus money for a point. So Luke Hughes, totally agree. Like, look at the role. Look at what he does. I definitely get it at plus 120, but I think Mercer at plus, it's just exact double up price. Wherever you put in, you're going to get doubled up at plus 100. So I think that's also fine. Everything else, like the Jesper Bratt point, is just completely nuked. But you under plus 180. My opinion, actually something maybe worth trying because they're still pricing him like he's with Jack Hughes and he's not. And the Florida team is sensational. So while I think Mercer and Luke Hughes are definitely priced efficiently, I just think this is a much better team. And this could be, I mean, they're rolling now. And that's eventually going to, run out of steam. But I'm not going with a shot prop on the Devils. That's probably the best way I'd put it. This Panthers team is really good. We have them for 24 saves. On the other side, we have like 33 shots on goal at puck luck and like 30 saves. So I think betting through the Panthers is where I'd go regardless. And yeah, I think I'm taking Matt Tkachuk over 1.5 plus 165 and saying that I don't care. Like, you're going to score, and he is just one of the best players in the league again. And they're not pricing him like that still.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I would slightly lean toward the Luke Hughes end of things, but I do think that Tkachuk would be the Florida bet that I make. I'm not too sold on the Barkov end of things, so yeah, that's my general lean in favor of Tkachuk here. All right, so that's the 4 games. Now we get to the big kahuna, the 12-game slate. I am going to take the screen share away and set that up while we get into things quickly. As far as news we already know, Mark Scheifele is out. That's obviously more impactful from a fantasy standpoint. But we also know that Chernak, Josh Anderson are going to be out. Josh Manson returns, and Ryan McLeod is a game time decision. That's interesting, if only because if McLeod misses, I would expect Evander Kane to be alongside Draisaitl and Fogle. And, it's the chicken or the egg. Like, is that line so good because of Ryan McLeod's contribution, or can they keep it up with Evander Kane there? But clearly, from a shots and from a betting standpoint and from a fantasy standpoint, Evander Kane is a much more attractive asset on that second line than Ryan McLeod. So it's worth keeping an eye on because that's going to be a spot of interest, especially if people are trying to play Edmonton in a great matchup against Montreal, but still save some money for some of the other spends on this 12-game slate. So, yeah, I mean, is there a particular game you want to start with here? Just running through what we know, what we don't know, or just bets you like while I set things up?
Yeah, Pittsburgh and Carolina is the first game, I believe, on the sports book.
Works for me.
Surprised to see that we have a lot of shots coming in for Carolina. That makes sense. It's going to be Jari versus Ranta. I just preliminarily looked at this. It was one of the first teams I pulled up for some reason. I was like, that's What is Raquel at right now? He's minus 125 for a point, and that's probably my favorite bet in this game. Like Ronda's been just a disaster in that. Nothing's changed in Pittsburgh, right? Did you look? I was gonna look, but
they they had to
first
change
power
Pittsburgh
play
because
first time with Crosby Gensel.
well, Smith is out, so they had to make some changes. But do you mean did they change the power play?
Oh, yeah, I didn't see anything for the power play.
Okay, no, I would
I'm just
not
looking
expect
right
them to
now.
make.
I mean, they ran yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Optional practice today.
Okay.
So
Stephen G.
yeah, I think Raquel stands out.
Stephen G. Any props for this first game before the props lock? I like Max Pacioretty myself. He's plus money to get a point. But if you want to be safer, I think Trocheck might be the best option. But Panarin, is as safe as it gets. So yeah, a long shot. Will Cooley on the top line. He's not much of a shooter type prospect, but that's at least worth considering if you want something in that ilk as far as long shots go. Yeah, I like Patches.
Yeah.
I expect him to step into a sizable role here after playing 18 minutes last game. All right.
Yeah, Trocheck for a point, and they finally put block shots back up, and John Carlson over 1.5 blocks is fine. It was down for a while. Can you hear me, Matt? Yeah, minus 1.5 blocks. I think the Rangers are going to have a lot of possession, and he should see a lot of run. No Ovi. Not that matters a ton, but again, John Carlson's been walking quite a few shots. We'll get a lot of opportunity. And will be tight. And it's like he went on this crazy block streak and he got bet way up and then he's cooled down, but it's just matchup dependent. This is a good matchup for that.
All right. So you said Pittsburgh, Carolina to start with?
Yeah, that's where I went to start. It's kind of one of those things where the game feels. I mean, I don't know what is the sports. Sorry, I just can't have the sports book up on my computer with the Wi-Fi it is right now. So I'm sorry, I'm looking at my phone the whole time.
Carolina's minus 155. I have everything written down if you need to reference just baselines.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, I have it. I just gotta get it on my phone. But all of this to say it's a 6.5 over under with not the most pace of play in the world, and it's going to be somewhat close. So, and I lean towards Raquel at minus 125 for a point. With Crosby and Gensel, just doesn't make a lot of sense to me that he's priced so unbelievably off on that. Been really good since returning. The top power play to our knowledge. I think he'll be involved. So that's a bet in this game. At puck luck, we have it right as an under, not by an insane amount. But the over bet is because of how bad Ron has been. It's not because of what this game actually profiles to be. Yeah. So that's moving. Got shots on the other side if we want to look at shot props.
Okay. I'm almost there. I can share quickly the actual matchups though. I just haven't incorporated the player stuff.
I could tell you there's one shot prop worth taking, and it's probably Svechnikov. I mean, maybe you could look at Burns, but do you hate yourself or do you love yourself? Answer that, and then and look at me right now. I hate myself. So I could look at Burns, but you don't have to. You can love yourself, and you could just bet Svechnikov.
Yeah. So looking at the matchup, surprisingly, Carolina lower than Pittsburgh in the expecteds over the past 10 games. So, I've always, or I should say, I've been more inclined to be an anti Carolina person just because I think the field is so pro Carolina, and I just, I simply do not trust them to do anything that we would expect, meaning, the Aho, Svechnikov, Burns, especially as their prices rise, which I imagine translates to their betting odds as well. So I would be totally fine following the Ricard Raquel path. I think you mentioned that, or even Erik Karlsson. we mentioned, I think on the Moinscape podcast on Thursday, he had gotten 25% of his shot attempts on goal over the last 10 games. And he came through with, I believe, a 3-shot on goal night for us on Thursday. In any case, doesn't really matter because that's results, not process. But he is taking, like 6+ shot attempts per game defensively, and I think he might even be plus money for shots on goal over 2.5. And just if he gets an average number on net, he's hitting that number based on what he's putting up. So I like that. I like also taking a bit of advantage of the fact that I think the field will be more pro Carolina here, given their favorites in this matchup and everything else. And Pittsburgh has been playing a good brand of hockey.
You said Carlson, or you could have literally as you said the name for me, but it's definitely not you. He's minus 175 over 1.5.
What? Yeah, okay. That's a windmill. Like, that's absolutely a great bet.
I didn't even see that. I didn't even notice it. Like, I swear my brain just didn't capture it. Wow. Yeah, that's kind of wild. 2 shots on goal. That feels like a base level. Yeah, that feels really strong. I know Puck's gonna love it, but I'll pull it up really quickly. That didn't even register. I honestly just I was like, I'm not betting a Pittsburgh shot prop here, as you just basically laid out. Like in on the season, that might make more sense. You factor in, but right now, what's going on in the past 10 games feels like one of the better bets that you could probably place on the slate.
Okay, so yeah, well, there's that game. God, just bouncing around now. Actually, let's go in the order you started with.
Next would be, I believe it would be Pittsburgh. Oh my God, Tampa. I think.
Okay.
It doesn't think it really matters. But I think it's at the same time. Yeah, we'll go with it. It'll be fun. Tampa,
Anaheim. Yeah, I didn't find lines for Tampa. I might have just missed them. But they were rolling the point Kucherov Stamkos line.
It stayed. It ran it yesterday.
Okay. So that's immediately, very interesting. Again, in your situation where you can parlay the point Stamkos Kucherov stuff together, that's pretty fun, I think. What's interesting without Chernak is, we're expecting, a bunch of nobodies to still be in the lineup without Sergachev, without Chernak, and Victor Hedman continues to just pile up minutes. The shot attempts have been there for him. Again, it's always dicey betting on defensemen to get shots on goal because they can do things like Erik Karlsson, where only 25% of them get on goal, blah, blah, blah. But over looking at these lines, I just think Hedman's the best shot on goal prop bet here with Kucherov up at 4.5. Hedman's minus, I think, 105 or 125 for 2.5 shots. And he's playing all the minutes, so if you want to bet a point, that's fine. That's been a bit nuked in my opinion. If you want to try and go blocks on a guy like Radish or Perbix, that's okay too if they're listed. But my guess is that Hedman is the guy that I want. Let's see. Max in at D for Tampa. Max Pacioretty is in, yes.
Dostal starts. Oh, Killorn's back in Tampa. Revenge narrative. Ooh, how fun. Crozier will make his NHL debut for Tampa. Place your bets. Chernak was not at this. Said he's day to day. So Chernak, it might be out. Yeah, he's not going to.
Yeah, Elliot reported that.
I didn't even know that.
Or not Max. Jesus Christ, I'm still so thrown by Max Crozier. Okay, why the fuck would you think I know that?
Crozier.
What?
Because Matt, you know everything about all.
What there makes you think that I know who Max Crozier is? I'm honestly flattered that you believe that, but yeah, I was completely lost.
Yeah, I
Let's
did just
see.
double check. It's Stamkos point and a fun little play. Plus 395, all of them to get over 1.5. That's quite a bit. It's a good matchup, whatever. Perbix minus bucks. Back to you in the studio.
I don't know what the line was you just read, but you said Perbix blocks as if you liked it. So let's go with that.
Over
Um,
1.5 minus 145.
okay, sure. Yeah, that's again, we're getting into that value suck situation where just all the value in all their metrics just get funneled up toward those guys who we're going to see all the time on ice. So yeah, let's. I don't know.
Yep,
Like
have main
Anaheim
Perbix.
is.
Don't get crazy. Just main Perbix.
Yeah. Actually, I did mean to look at what Anaheim did with the power play last game because they're without Minchikov for what could be a matter of weeks. Yeah. Okay. So Lacombe here playing 19 minutes, getting the power play, technically power play one. Again, I would argue that the way that these power play units have been deployed, that they actually like the other unit more, like this Fowler, Henrique, Strom, Silverberg, Vetrano unit. So I'm not rushing to the podium to jam in, Lacombe props or Carrick power play points or anything like that you might be able to find. But it's definitely worth noting because Jackson Lacombe checks in at, let's see, he's gonna 2,700 in daily fantasy, and the guy is piling up blocks. And clearly there's not a great role, but getting power play time means you could back your way into a multi-point night some percentage of the time. All right. DJ has his Kucherov jersey. Thank you, DJ.
Any thoughts on that player? Is he good?
I heard he's fairly good at hockey. That's right.
He is. So I think most DraftKings Sportsbook is minus 140 over 1.5, which is more than any other player on the slate. In case you're wondering.
Okay, there you go. Thank you for that hard-hitting data analysis there, DJ.
Was a little bit crazy. Yeah. Wait, what?
I said thank you for that analysis. But I do feel like I'm recording a show with my dog. I don't have a dog, but if I had a dog, I feel like this would be it. Like he's leaving the camera to go fetch things to show me, and then I can't tell what he's saying half the time. Now, again, that's not his fault. It's the internet. Apparently, Buffalo, New York is having some sort of snow situation. Who knew? But it is just one of those things where I truly am just at a loss here of how to deal with DJ some days. All right.
Woof.
Yes, woof. I mean, just take us to the next game. No, I do not want a dog. Absolutely not. No, keep it away.
Nope. So trend Columbus revenge narrative. It's Seattle at Columbus. The unbeatable record is projected to start as of now, but we don't know for sure in Columbus for the Bjorkstrand Bowl. This game feels like it stinks, but are people going to look to Seattle for value on the slate?
They didn't last slate against Washington, which was interesting. I think this matchup is slightly more likely to steer some people in that direction. But it's the really hard thing about Seattle is that you just simply don't know which line to pick. Like, you can have all these, like, okay, they're in a great spot. And then you go to look at their lineup and you're just kind of, let's see, trying to do the thing where I switch to layouts without, yeah, there we go. You go to look at their lines and you get this. Like, I mean, what the hell are we supposed to do with this?
We have this.
Yeah, I was just I
like
wasn't
the,
sure how to
the bottom.
actually. Yeah, I know. I'm learning on the fly here of how to do the video. But the really hard thing to figure out is, like, okay, Eberle, McCann, Wenberg, Bjorkstrand done. Well, McCann, Wenberg, Bjorkstrand, Eberle. Like, I mean, it's truly a roulette wheel as far as who gets the fantasy points. So for that reason, I don't think people will go to this to the Seattle well taking on Columbus. They're not even that big of a favorite, so I don't think they'll have a huge team total or anything. Minus 162 on the Seattle side. So despite liking Seattle a whole lot more than Columbus, I think I am more interested in the Columbus side of things here, especially with the confirmed lines, which I thought I had. Okay, I guess I don't. But we saw Gaudreau with Chinikov and
Fantilli.
Fantilli. Yeah. And that
I
line.
thought it was Fantilli, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. That just seems better to me because while we can't guarantee that the production flows through those guys, and frankly that the minutes do either, Fantilli has gotten 20 minutes in 2 of his last 3 games. And I think Chinikov has been their best player over the last some stretch of time. He's really looked the part as like a quality NHL power forward offensive winger, and Johnny Gaudreau is a guy they're committed to regardless of how well he actually plays. So I want to say now I'm looking at these an hour ago, or I looked at these an hour ago, so I'm forgetting what the lines were. But let's see, Chinikov was way down at plus 320 to score a goal. I like that on its face. I could also be sold on Fantilli plus 2.5 shots, Chinikov over 1.5 shots minus 175. Like this guy's taking a bunch of shot attempts. So I'm pretty interested in the Chinikov side of the action here. Let's see. And I will add the Chinikov over 1.5 shots to my $1 million parlay.
I think he's really good. Oh, sorry. What?
That was it.
What were you saying?
I said I added Chinikov to my $1 million parlay.
Oh, okay.
The minus 175 shots.
What about Fantilli? I mean, Fantilli's plus money for a point. Tilly is plus money for 2.5 shots, and it seems like the roles there, like the way that profiling previously was as this is probably a good bet in a bad matchup. But does that make it a goal, or are you just saying it's Chinikov and why are we being silly?
Yeah, I think Fantilli's fine, but Chinikov has been slightly better. So like I'm taking slightly better I'm taking slightly better odds for I guess a slightly better player in my estimation. I think his role is just more reliable as well. Like Fantilli still has that rookie stink on him. We know that there's a decent chance that if the lines change, that he's the one getting moved down because clearly they plucked Chinikov off the Russian line for a reason, and it's again because I believe he's playing the best hockey on the team. So to me, that's pretty simple. But I understand one go Fantilli. He's more dynamic. He's probably a better player in the long run. But I think tonight I just prefer Chinikov.
Yeah. So last game, and we got any changes. It was power play 1 of Sillinger, Boquist, Chinikov, Kent Johnson. What I would consider. So again, I also lean Chinikov. Just whoever with Boquist, I think, as power play 1. So yes, I think that plus 130 is pretty solid for a point.
Yeah, and a good reminder on Boquist too. I like him.
Yep, Boquist as well, right? So yeah, next game. Probably, I don't know. Let's do Edmonton, Montreal, get it over with.
Sure. Yeah, so Edmonton is really, going to be Edmonton without Ryan McLeod would be a slight downgrade, but again, like I said, I think that's really impactful if Evander Kane steps into the second line. I would consider playing Draisaitl, Evander, and Fogle over the Edmonton first line. As it's currently constructed, I'm not really interested in Edmonton 2 with McLeod on it. They get a decent bit of ownership for DFS, and it's just not that exciting. And as far as betting, I honestly think Edmonton minus 250 is better bet than like any of the goal props or point props that are being offered. Like I just can't really in good conscience like bet on Zach Hyman at minus 190 to get a point. Like he's been incredible. Like I totally understand, but just the odds just don't really make me feel good. Like I think you want more of upside laden bets than you do just pure medium bets with these Edmonton pieces. And so that's my, my general reason that I just want to say, well, maybe even the puck line, it's minus 105 on the Edmonton puck line. Like I just think it's such a mismatch of a game, and I don't know that I trust any of the players as much as the general like plus, or I guess the 65% likelihood that you would need to bet on like a point prop or something like that.
Yeah, I have 3 bets here. I would, and one of them is the puck money line, and therefore puck line just fine. I think it's either just take McDavid over 1.5. Like I get Hyman feels safe. I don't know if it's as safe as you think. Bouchard minus 166 for a point. Or the puck line. So those are the 3 I kind of was going through. I think I'm on McDavid. He is really doing it all right now. I think the shots are just a bit more fringe. He's minus 145 over 3.5, but that just goes to show how much he's becoming involved and just taking over the game right now. So
yeah, he's really stepped up his shot production as of late. So I'm not quite sold on, betting him, especially in matchups that I think Edmonton will smash their opposition. Like there's just clearly a incentives thing of like, okay, why am I going to shoot, like these empty calorie shots? But it's worth pointing out that he has been doing that over the last little stretch here. So
it's birthday. That's what I was saying. But yeah,
okay.
I don't know if
Got it. Yeah, it's really hard for me to hear you, DJ. I'm sorry. Hopefully it's coming through slightly a bit better to the audience.
100% lock it in over 1.5 points.
All right, and just to now that I've updated the sheet in full, I just wanted to point out that obviously this is now the main slate, but over here on the right where the expected fantasy points pop up, we were not seeing McDavid in this stratosphere earlier this season. He was, like very good still, but he was more down like on these big slates. He was behind guys like Matthews and Kucherov and even his teammate Hyman. But because the shot rate has gone up dramatically for him, this bottom part, which now you're getting into really dicey territory as far as being able to read it, like he's leading the team in shot attempts by a decent clip. So like it's very much a change in how he was playing versus how he is playing versus how he was playing earlier this season. So yeah, anything to do with McDavid, I like. I think I'm just going Edmonton puck line though, and just saying they kill them, and I don't really care who does it. Like that's sort of my betting lean at the moment. All right, what do we got next?
100%. Yeah, 100%. That is the LA Kings at the Detroit Red Wings, and as and not dogs pointed out, Clark is expected in. This has been just I don't get it. I don't know. I mean, let's play Clark and Jordan Spence. Quiet. They can't. I don't. I get it. Like you got to play deep. Screw off, honestly. This game seems good. The Kings 162 is a little bit surprising with the current slide, but I do think that they're a much better team. So I'm kind of staying away from that side of things. Puck luck didn't have any edge on it, and for that, actually, I'll double check that. I'm pretty sure that was true. I just kind of continue to lean towards Fiala. I mean, I just think that is probably their best at 5-on-5, and Fiala is. So minus 195 for a point is stinky, but I think it's honestly good. Puck luck has him at minus 215, so it's a small edge. Checks all the boxes for me. I'm not overthinking it too much here.
Yeah, in a similar vein, I think Adrian Kempe also makes sense to quote unquote not overthink things. But I think for fantasy, I think I want to save some money, especially with Clarkin. Like you mentioned, we clearly haven't seen it at the NHL level, but he is like a top tier prospect. So on that second power play unit, we see Kaliev is going to be a scratch, and with that, Laferriere steps into the second unit. So Laferriere, Dubois, and Clark is sort of a 3-man that I immediately had in mind. I love Alex Laferriere's game personally. I think plus 500 on him to score a goal is pretty neat. Again, that power play unit gets decent ice time. It's not a 80-20. It's more of a 60-40 split power play wise. So I think taking advantage of that news of a long shot in Laferriere actually makes a decent amount of sense. You can bet on Brandt Clark in that way too, being the distributor, blah blah blah. But yeah, that's my, I guess, my Giga Brain, and then my other I'll play Adrian Kempe or Fiala shots for sure if I'm wanting to be safer. Anything on Detroit interesting?
Yeah.
Because
Puckluck likes the Detroit money line plus 136. I get that. What? You hear me, Bueller?
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you. But basically, the reason I think it's interesting is LA's lost 6 games now in a row. I think 6 games in a row. And they've all been close games, obviously, but like they are not playing inspiring hockey. And this Detroit side has some pretty fun players in Larkin, Kane, DeBrincat. So I don't know if I can get there myself, but DeBrincat minus 115 for a point just seems crazy. Like, I mean, he's obviously cooled off from how he started the season, but is this a player we should expect to get points in just half of his games, regardless of matchup? I don't know. That seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, that plus, I mean, all three of the three-headed monster, which all should be on the line together, of Larkin, Kane, and DeBrincat are 2.5, and I think they're all high on odds. Or Kane on shots for minus 125, or DeBrincat minus 130 for Kane. It might be better to go over to your prize pick or your underdog to bet, just because you're going to actually get value in a slip on that if it's offered. But I mean, how does matchup look, Troy? It's right in the middle, right? I mean, it's not horrendous. Like, I think the sports books are overreacting. And I think that you could easily go that other way if that's where you're going to go. I have this, again, we have this game as being close. It's going to be competitive. I think these guys are going to be on the ice quite a
Yep. And a couple of
just, again, overreaction to how good LA is defensively.
So a few benchmarks that I like to profile things on as far as the slate goes. Obviously, this expected goals index is how this sheet is sorted. But as I zoom in more, just to try and make my point clear, there's also some things here that look at the Corsi pace of play. And again, this is all 5-on-5, so incorporate the power play at your own risk. But we see Vegas, Calgary, and Calgary is just firing from everywhere, and that's sort of their thing. But the second best Corsi pace, the best expected goals pace in Detroit, LA, and the best goals pace, which is very rare to see, honestly, just because of how goaltending works and just the volatility involved. Having this matchup, which is obviously clearly informed by Detroit just springing a leaking goal over the past 10 games, but having the sort of paces all in favor of this being a very up-tempo game is kind of interesting. But yes, like GA says, Detroit's power play is an absolute joke. So, this is all 5-on-5. You got to incorporate these things at your own risk. But I think if you're stacking LA, including a Detroit one-off and just saying this is the game to have of the night, that's pretty interesting. And yes, DJ, very nice Kevin Fiala jersey. See, this is what I mean. He literally just exits the camera, comes back. He comes back with the toy, and he just shows it to me. Like, okay, cool.
Autograph jersey.
Oh yeah.
Nice autograph. Wait,
cool.
Can I show you something too? But while we're on the topic, one more thing.
Is it your tennis ball? Go get your toy.
So the Ontario Reign, can you hear me? You get me right?
Yep.
The Ontario Reign had it was $100 sale, and they were basically saying like any stick, you can let us know if you want to use it or if you just want like a really well-worn piece. And I was like, yeah, I actually want one to use. And they sent me a raspberry, it looked untouched. He also sent me a pair of socks that match that jersey. Game jersey. And I just feel like I could be an absolute sociopath and go to an LA Kings game dressed like fully in all of my gear with a helmet on and stuff. And people would be like, "Where'd you get those socks?" And I'd be like, "Well, I feel like they're like, we don't want to wash these. I just threw it in. Like, I didn't order them. They're definitely game used. There's marks on it and stuff, but I do have a pair of the socks to go with the jersey, and I didn't order that together. Like, I ordered the jersey completely separate.
All right, DJ, for the TikTok.
They're like bonus gift.
For the TikTok, we need to respond to that viral video of the dude wearing his 49ers get up. I don't know. Again, I'm now indoctrinated into TikToks, but there's a dude wearing 49ers stuff, and he's just making a clown of himself. DraftKings posted on their Twitter account, but these like full football gear. You got to do that watching the Browns game in your hockey gear. That would be.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I put it around my neck. I'm not putting this on my neck again.
Yeah. Anyway,
I swear to God, they're like, I'm not washing it. Just put it in the box with that stick, dude.
Oh God. All right. I don't even know how many fucking games we have left, but let's keep going. We've got a few people here still somehow. Nope, he left. Maybe the fetch his stick.
No, I was trying to put it back with the other side up. I know where it is. Next game would be 7 o'clock. Yeah, Flyers and you hear me? Flyers Winnipeg.
Yeah, Flyers Winnipeg. Oh, that is an 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock start. Okay. Yeah, so the Flyers.
Yeah, all right, weird.
The Flyers are keeping Igor Zamula as the manning their power play, which is kind of weird. But unfortunately, he's not listed for points or anything. And neither is Jamie Drysdale, which is extra weird. But I do think there is some value without Mark Scheifele. Clearly, Mark Scheifele is a good player. Like, I'm not really disputing that. But I think that either Vlad Domestikov or Cole Perfetti gets the biggest bump without Scheifele in the fold. And so while you can go, Velarde and Nick Ehlers, minus 150 and minus 130, those lines are pretty juicy themselves. I do think you could, get a bit more creative and, try to find some longer odds, especially on like a goal prop for Nemestikov or something, because as we know with Mark Scheifele, you don't need a ton of volume to score. And if you're stepping into his role, like, Nemestikov, I think it's a little bit too thin. There's a comment of, is Kyle Connor coming back? Is this informed by DJ's stupid twirling of a Kyle Connor jersey? Because no, there is no indication that Kyle Connor's anywhere close to returning.
He practiced with a normal sweater, but I think they said he's not back. I'll double check that really quickly. But
yeah, well,
I gotta frame this one. This is beautiful.
Yeah, we're expecting Lowry to center Ehlers and Velarde. I don't think that happens on the power play, though. I think it'll be, actually, Perfetti, I think, has been it was Iafallo on the power play. So I think Perfetti gets the power play 1 job. So that's where I'm leaning. But yeah, I think DJ's just beyond. He's beyond the pale. He's just twirling his jerseys.
They actually just put out projected lines, the Winnipeg account. Ehlers, Lowry, Velarde, Perfetti, Nemestikov, Iafallo.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I have his stick in the garage. I'm not going to run out there and get it. I used it last night. It works great. I knew Kyle Connor was back. I just wanted to have fun while Matt talked, because I'm basically 85% useless with this Wi-Fi. 69% useless.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Final decision.
Is anything, so again, does that make it in general? Well, can you hear me? Does that make it so Winnipeg is just sort of exiled for you, or?
No.
I don't disagree with the Velarde take on shots.
Yeah, I'm highlighting the Winnipeg and like the matchup here. And we pointed it out, and there's some context around it being like a long road trip that they capped off a few games ago for Philly, but their numbers have been drifting upward defensively, meaning they've been getting worse defensively over the last stretch. And so I'm perfectly fine targeting Winnipeg pieces. Um, Honestly, final decision probably still needs to be made as far as whether I try to get more creative with like a longer shot like Perfetti, or if I just take the safety of Ellers or Velarde at this point. So TBD. Worth pointing out, Adam Lowry has been pretty effective. So especially in like daily fantasy, if you want to play Adam Lowry, he's already getting one of the best quote unquote roles based on what he's been producing shots wise and putting up fantasy point wise, the expecteds. Stepping into that top line, again, not expecting the power play to come with it, but it could, and that second power play should be there for him too. There's a lot to like here, I guess, is the main point. So,
yeah, lowest total on the slate as far as I'm concerned. I think that makes a lot of logical sense. But as you're saying, both these teams are trending away from it. So I'm staying away from that total myself. I think Velarde for shots is probably my favorite. The volume hasn't been astronomical, but all of his shots are pretty dangerous. He's definitely getting a lot of in tight shots on net. And you think through Biver do that kind of just as much, if not more than them. So I think that that's fine. On the Flyer side of things, Matt, if I ever stop at some point, just try to alert me. One quote that I wanted to pull, and I'm trying to find the exact quote after the game. You know how every once in a while Torts says something that's a little bit outlandish, not too common, of course. He said after the game that Owen Tippett would have 8 or 9 goals if he hit the net. So he called up right. Owen Tippett saying, I agree. I'm not about after the game. Yeah, if Tip hits the net, he misses the net. I think I cut out, right?
You did, yeah.
Yeah, he said he misses the net so many damn times. So basically called it Owen Tippett. On the Flyer side of things, I think that top line Farabee, top power play Farabee, he was electric last game and they didn't move him at all. So plus money on a point is something I'm interested in. Minus 130 and say, why am I playing this dangerous game?
I just on the back-to-back, I have no interest in Flyers, and so I'm just going to take the value on Winnipeg as it presents itself, I think. All right. Where do we need to go next?
Colorado at Toronto. Probably I would say one of the more anticipated. It's the last 7 o'clock game. We're finally to the end of the sevens. So, yeah, it's a total, I do believe, minus 1.5 on that over. Oh no, the Sharks in the Ottawa Senators actually, and actually the Sabres in Vancouver is tied. Weird. High total, star laden rosters, shots, bad goaltenders. I mean, this is a fun game. I think I would just again go to the Morning Skate podcast, pull up exactly what Matt has on the screen right now. I would scroll through. Oh, Colorado's at the bottom.
They're always at the bottom. And
just sort of say them. Yeah.
No, they're always at the bottom, but it doesn't matter because all their production comes through like 4 guys. I mean, it's McKinnon, Nichushkin, Rantanen, and Makar. Like, if I were to have a list of 500 players, whatever, you would literally go like these 4 and then just a golf, and we'd be scrolling all the way down, and then you'd find the 5th player. Like, it's truly egregious just how concentrated this offense is. Not just the offense, it's also the playing time. Like, I mean, this is flat out ridiculous stuff.
Yep.
And so that's why you got to take with a mega grain of salt. Anytime you're looking at like these team level projections, like again, they're not projections, but they're indexes, which are slightly different. We're just seeing a completely different usage of this team, among this team than we are for most other teams across the league. So, with that said, I think I'm more in on the Colorado end of things than I am the Toronto end. Because Toronto is typically higher up on these charts than Colorado is. So I do hesitate a little bit to just dive into a Toronto side where I'm not fully invested in, like how they're deploying their minutes and whatnot. So all things being equal, I do prefer Colorado here. Um, I don't hate minus 105 Colorado on just the money line and just saying, they win this game. But I think I would go with a Nichushkin shot prop. I don't know. It's tough because of the lines. Juin on that top line is just, an abject embarrassment, but it happens. So I don't know. What do you prefer on the Colorado side of things?
Well, puckluck.com does have Colorado as a mild edge as far as money line is concerned. I will agree with that statement. For everything you've already said, it is unsurprisingly difficult to find as far as we're concerned, that feels safe because they're all 1.5 points. They're all 3.5 shots. They play all the entire game. Tushkin 3.5 20. I do agree that's likely my favorite. As far as points are concerned, Tushkin is minus 230. I don't know. At that point, just probably get a life.
Yeah.
I think that as far as this game is in totality, I will be probably going back to the Tavares minus 150 for a point. Islander were really good against the Island.
Yeah,
is incredibly useful. They're both really useful on the power play, and I can go back to that and think that might be the best line in the game, regardless of what the score is.
Yeah, you cut out there, but you said Tavares, and yes, worth noting, he does pop up on the top, 32, I think is the number of players this is showing, or maybe 30. Nichushkin game time decision illness. Thank you. Much appreciated. Yeah, the other thing so I guess assuming that Nichushkin plays, Josh Manson's in, which I think means they're even more likely to keep the 11-7 setup. So, again, assuming that Nichushkin plays, getting Nichushkin on the quote unquote second line, but he's just getting a lot of the garbage for the power play net front. So I like his chances to just jam 4 shots on goal and just not really worry about whether he gets points or not. But yeah, 11-7 would obviously rise all boats for Colorado, which I'm expecting here as well. Doesn't really impact Cale Makar, but for a fantasy standpoint, I just don't think you can pay 8,400 on the slate for a guy playing like he has been, which is just not great. Like, he's been good for fantasy, but it's certainly McKinnon driving the bus at 5-on-5, play driving and whatnot. Yeah, I have nothing as far as depth, as far as, out long shots. Like, this is probably the game where that's like the least meaningful. So,
I mean, Drouin, anything point is that
I just look, I refuse to bet anything to play it. Yeah, like, he just sucks. So I'll just keep losing. It's fine.
Okay. Easy. Perfect. Next is one of the chalkier spots on the night. I'm sure the prices have been coming up in DFS for Dallas as they head out to Chicago to battle the Rockford Ice Pit, whatever the heck they are. There's a couple options in this game you have. You can, in my opinion, you could go over to any pick your poison. You can say, which do I hate the most today? And bet they're under on a point. Seth Jones back 100. That's confirmed, right? I'm almost positive, but
I think it was confirmed yesterday.
Yeah, pretty sure. So he's also listed now. Whatever. I think the easiest, I would just take Kurashev under his 135 for a point if I'm going anything on the Chicago side. I know he's king and whatever and blah blah blah. They're going to get smoked. The other side of things, I've already kind of penciled it in. Just I'm not going to overthink it too much here. And any second line is probably fine. Duchesne top power play last game. He is 360 for a power play point, which isn't nearly as much as it used to be. Harley's listed now as well. Was it Harley? Harley's not on the top power play though. I'm guessing if
he should be. Are you looking at something where he's not?
No. Who came off?
Jamie Benn, because Jamie Benn sucks.
I didn't know they were smart. Thomas Harley plus 420 for a power play point. That could be a part of a nice, fun, very big bet. Not listed for
Yeah. I do like that. Yeah, it's unfortunate he's not listed in the regular point props because yeah, he's certainly a guy who drives play at 5-on-5 as well. We've seen a lot to like from Harley, ever since Heiskanen went out. So I think you just continue to bet on him. Let's see, are we getting blocked shots? No, we're not getting any block shots here. So yeah, it's kind of thin to bet on power play point props in my estimation. But if you want something really safe, I mean, the under on Jimmy Benn points on the power play, or even just regular points. Now that he's not on that top power play, that feels pretty good. I know Dallas can put up 10 on anyone, or maybe not anyone. Chicago can give up 10 to anyone, but I don't think this is a spot where Dallas is on a back to back with travel. I think that the Jamie Benn under is really solid. So as much as I want to say, oh well, Thomas Harley, he's a lock. I don't know, plus 440. They might not even get power plays. It's just one of those things where like I feel better about just taking something that I know based on the news. Actually profiles as a good bet as far as Jamie Benn's under is concerned. So, all right.
Yeah, I was just talking if they ran a power play in Chicago, but I'm not seeing it. They're
okay.
All of the defensemen, that's the guy that comes out. They don't want to be good. Interesting. Yeah, he's not good. Who cares? Okay, we can move on. I think Pavelski for a point. I'm just thinking. Next would be the Boston Bruins and the St. Louis Blues. Boring freaking game. Not that for it. Really 100% confident this is not going to be making my list of bets. Unless if Boston changed something, and I feel like they did, made it worse potentially.
I mean, is that possible?
Zacha, okay, so Zacha is available tonight. I think that's what I saw, and I was like, oh. No.
Okay.
No. Yeah, they ran power play with Coyle and Van Riemsdyk, but then Zacha is available. So yeah, that's right. It was Boqvist, Geek, Pastrnak. That's right. And I was like, are you joking? And they did that last game, right? Wasn't that bad? Like Boqvist was on the top line.
Yeah, Boqvist was top line. So yeah, I don't know. You just keep lugging anchors at David Pastrnak and wonder why you can't score. And I mean, they're not generating anything either. So I'm highlighting the matchup here because both these teams are way at the bottom of the list. Both teams are anemic offensively. We know that St. Louis has a bit of a history of outscoring their expected goal production. We don't really have that confirmation for Boston. So like this is a mega big alarm signs are going off. For me, I'm just taking the one I've been taking recently is Brad Marchand under 1.5 points. Like, I mean, Brad Marchand can get a point, sure, but is he really going to get two? The odds are juiced as hell. But I'm just not really afraid of Brad Marchand being lined up with who is it, Coyle and DeBrusque. Like, if you're feeling really bold, I think you could bet the under on David Pastrnak 1.5 points. That's even money. So that might make its way into my consideration just because, like, again, even if it's Zacha, like Geeky is just not it. And Pasta can do it against anyone, but like the rates have been so bad that like I'm just not I'm not really like that wanting to attack the St. Louis front either. So all right. Oh
yeah.
God. Jordan Kyrou.
Is there anything on
St. Louis? Awesome.
Yeah,
Yep. Jordan Kyrou has been awesome. I mean, he even pops up over here alongside his line mate in Bushnevich, who, Bushnevich will have slightly better odds if you want to bet, like better for you, the better. But Jordan Kyrou is what makes his team tick. So, like, I kind of think that just betting on him, if you're thinking you want to bet an over in this game, if St. Louis gets there, I think Kyrou's doing the work versus Bushnevich can profile as a playmaker as well as a shot taker. So getting Kyrou at plus 100 for 3.5 shots is fine. I think I prefer minus 160 on a point, however.
Yep, puck luck has Cairo minus 184 for a point and Busnevich minus 215. I get it. Puck luck is kind of agreeing with a little bit what you're saying with the playmaking ability of Busnevich, but I lean Cairo anyways. They're priced pretty much to minus 160, minus 145. You can go with either. I think that's the over in the game, and then the unders. Honestly, I think that Pastrnak under is sharp. I just don't. My little heart can take it after the Browns lose.
Oh yeah,
by Pastrnak an empty net goal from like 150 feet. Just can I do that to myself? No. We can definitely keep things moving. We're getting closer and closer to the end, but I think we still have 5 games left, and I'm hungry.
Do we? I think we have 3, but okay.
1, 2, 3. Oh, 3. Oh crap. Yeah, no. DraftKings has 2 games for tomorrow already listed. My bad.
Yeah.
Islanders Nashville. Still at the 8 p.m. games. Yeah. Still at 8 p.m. So all of these games, one night game by Islanders. Nashville.
Right. Yeah, Nashville is looking pretty good. They went into Dallas and beat the tar out of them. It was a 6-3 final. I was kind of close with empty netters, but Nashville was dominant through 2 periods. Dallas had nothing going, so they head back home. I think they're one of the best spots that I guess they're going to get ownership, based on Occupy Fantasy. It says like the Forsberg Yossi combo will get some ownership, being 6%. That honestly is a bit surprising to me, given the Islanders are a slight favorite here and the total's a 6. So again, I could be right in that they're not going to be owned and I like them, or I could be right in that I like them a lot and the field sees that too. So I'm not too sure about fantasy. But when you look at just for like a betting standpoint, this team is very clearly led by Philip Forsberg. Very interesting that, you look at the DK salaries and sub 8K, like he's the second best guy on the slate after Jake Gensel, who gets a Carolina matchup. So I think there's reason to believe that despite the back-to-back, that Philip Forsberg is the best wing play on the night. He's just been awesome. So that's where I'm focusing in on. But any interest in the Islanders, they're slight favorites. They jumbled up their lines. They went right back to their old lines, but Matt Barzal, Noah Dobson went absolutely haywire. So how are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, I think on the Islanders side, if you're looking at props in general, Dobson minus 160 for a point is probably where I go. And on the other side, similarly priced, Roman Yossi minus 166. If I'm going with Forsberg, I think I'm taking shots minus 140 over 3.5. In DFS, I did really like that pairing of Forsberg Yossi. It does feel chalky, but it feels playable. There's just so many options on this list I like that I could. So those are definitely my leans. I didn't see anything ultra stand out. Yossi for a point is minus 185 on puck luck. So again, I didn't beat that. And we do like him for shots as well. He is listed at plus money over 3.5. Maybe not your biggest of parlays, just a guy shooting from the point. Add a little bit more risk to that. Don't know if you want to do that, but you can.
What's
on the Islander side? Wait, what?
What's the Forsberg multi-point? Because he's 1.5 plus 170, and I kind of like that bet on upside. So I'm wondering what puck luck thinks.
Second, sorry. I clicked off. Plus 146. So I like it.
Bit of an edge. All right. So yeah, that's where I'll go. I'll go. I'll take the plus money.
And pair it with Yossi.
Sure, you could. Yeah. That's not something I can do, but yeah, that is what I will add in. All right, and from a fantasy standpoint, Colton Sissons remains on the top power play. He's doing some stuff. I think he's a fine way to save some money off of the Ryan O'Reillys, especially if people are going to chase yesterday's points. It's unlikely Ryan O'Reilly hits another shot bonus, and the multi-point game, not a ton either as far as how likely I think that is to continue into Saturday. So just some value there, but nothing really betting focused. All right. Anything else on this game?
No, I was kind of pulling up the Islanders just to double check, but as far as props are concerned, I just think that no matter what, you're going through Dobson and you're going through Barzal, so that leads me to probably taking a look at Bo Horvat. Right, they're back with Bo Horvat on that top line, to my knowledge. So minus 144, like it's a small edge. I do. Just go with Forsberg. Have some balls. I'm gonna be snowstorms coming, but not for me because I'm gonna have all the money. I'm gonna move to Mexico. We have Arizona against the back-to-back Wild. Gustafsson back, I believe. I haven't seen him. I feel like in a little while.
Yes,
is this the first
was
game
activated? Yep.
Right. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I think it was the first game back. The Wild have been bad. I think that like it almost gets overlooked for some reason. Maybe just people don't about the Wild as much. Very good hockey at all, and I don't know if that makes me feel any one way or another on Arizona because I don't really like them and I don't like this iteration. And if they're going to say we're going to play Keller and Schmaltz with freaking McBain, I'd rather die. So I would lean to go through a guy like Dylan Guenther. That is actually Buck Luck's like favorite goal odds player as well. We have him at plus 163 for a goal. So like I think having fun and making one of those fun ones. 340. It's a pretty large edge. The books just have not caught up to the level of player this is, albeit it's a huge risk. I mean, 163 isn't safe. You have a bunch of minus 200s and you're playing the under on a power play point here. It's don't add it to your list, but it's a very sizable edge that I will be betting. This Arizona team frustrates me, and I think Minnesota is playing abhorrently bad. Does this fix anything? Did they get back on track? They go back in. Their mentals get checked. I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
but there's one thing in this game that I'm like, that's the bet. There it is.
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of surprised that Puck Luck is so quick to the Dylan Guenther love, just because, projection systems, like Jay is admittedly a data person. Like he's not really making many manual edits as far as his, I think this player is actually really good or really bad or whatever. And as a prospect, Dylan Guenther has a great profile, but at the NHL level, he's been good. He's shot a ton, especially. But it's nice to see that for a young guy, it's picking up that likelihood of, I guess, scoring. So plus 170, Puck Luck has it. Plus 340 on the books. That's easy for me. It's even if they change up their lines, which I don't think they will. Michelli, Kerfoot, Krause, Cooley, Bugstad, Guenther. So I guess Kerfoot slides around a bit. But Bugstad's fine. If it's Kerfoot, if it's Cooley centering, I actually don't really care. I prefer Cooley on the wing as well. I think he's getting caved in as a center so far in his NHL career. So giving him Bugstad and having that slightly less pressure on him actually does make me like Guenther a little bit more. But you don't need me to give you the soft stance when the data says Dylan Guenther, the power play one role, etc. Makes him a very good bet to score at plus 340. So. The only other player I would consider is like a Ryan Hartman. He played with Matt Boldy yesterday, got a ton of minutes and had 5 shots. So just checking what his shot prop is. Plus 100 for over 2.5. I think that's perfectly fine. Hartman's not a great player, but he's good enough when he's relied upon to be the offense at just chucking pucks on net. Don't worry about the points. Don't worry about any of that. But just if you want someone to chuck pucks, Ryan Hartman's your guy.
As of 1 hour ago, asked John Hines if Kaprizov or Brodin are available, and he said basically they could be. Like they're well. Huh. So
that's interesting. Your audio went absolutely psycho there.
I was surprised.
So it sounded very strange. I'm not, but okay, yeah. So worth noting. maybe don't bet on Minnesota pieces, now, because they could all get nuked. If Kaprizov's in, he'll soak up all that equity as far as shots and points and whatnot.
So
So
the one edge I think that will exist either way is still boldly. It's 198, and if he's playing with Kaprizov, it only goes up. Will that be the case? I don't know.
All right, let's land this plane, because Calgary at Vegas is our final game. Yeah, I showed it before. The Corsi pace here is extreme. The expected goals are, fine. It's not a smash spot, but obviously with this slate having a bunch of quote unquote bad spots, both them being in the mid tier makes it an okay-ish looking game stack. But the fact that both these teams are expected to get a bunch of shot attempts makes me like, a lot of the Vegas blocks, for instance. I think you could get away with some of those. And the Calgary front, Uyghur, Anderson, so I'm immediately looking at some shot props and some player block props, and that's about it for me. So where I'll start with is Alec Martinez. I like him in DFS as well, because last game he was the power play 1 quarterback. We saw it with Patches, 2-3 years ago when Patches was there. The Martinez Patches combo was lethal in the playoffs. So we have seen Martinez produce on a power play 1 shift before. So you could say Martinez, actually he's not even listed on the point props. Let's just do Alec Martinez 2.5 blocks over. That's what I like. He's obviously a guy who blocks a ton, and being the power play 1 defenseman does mean that when the PKers rush down the ice, they're often just trying to take a low danger shot on goal, and Martinez will happily step in the way of those. So even a bit more just time on ice for him to soak up some more blocks. So I do like that.
Yep. On the other, shots and points, I'm just going back to Sharangovich. Whatever. Coming off a hat trick, and this matchup is, they're not playing Arizona. I get it. They're playing a better team, but the matchup isn't indicating that they shouldn't have shots. They shouldn't have, for 2.5 minus 115. I think that's my bet for if I'm going to go over on shot. He's just shooting a metric ton, playing a ton of minutes, and they just obviously want him to play with guys that can set him up. So I'm in.
All right.
Will he have a hat trick again? I don't think so. But yeah.
All right. Your audio has completely lost the plot. So I am just going to say we end it. If we could do top stacks, guarantee goals, but honestly, it's not worth any of our times, I think. All right, you're still setting stuff up, but in any case, if you are so inclined to, if you need to make an account anywhere or anything, actually, how do I get this to show up? If you need to sign up for DraftKings, use promo code THPN. You can see their little logo in the top right here. If you need to use Underdog, promo MSP. Thank you, DJ, for making that appear. If you sign up for Underdog using promo code MSP, you can also get a match deposit bonus the same way you can by betting on DraftKings with code THPN. And then also Puck Luck. We've referenced them throughout the show, but we really, we appreciate what Jay has done, and he, I think, has the best betting infrastructure set up, or honestly, fantasy hockey as well. Okay, DJ, make this go away. I don't know how to make it go away now. Okay.
Can you address
and Jay's done a great job. It's garbled. Your audio's cooked.
Buttholes. Did that work?
Just no. We need to close this out. So anyway, go to Puck Luck, and if you have the interest or the means, do sign up there as well, because it's a really good product, and I think you'll get your bang for your buck pretty instantly. Not to mention, I think his season long, or his his season of daily bets have been just insane. Like if you're just betting what he has said is the best bet of the day, you're up, a really good amount of money. So anyway, he couldn't make it because the Sabres game and the travel and everything. But he is often here on Saturdays as well. If you want to come back next week or the following weeks when we do these shows again. So DJ, I am very sorry that your audio and that your internet was so challenging, but hopefully this is the worst it gets.
Give it a go. Give it a go really quickly before we go. Up 9 units on just pick of the day on bookluck.com, which is $100 just on those picks alone. And yeah, I'll post a bunch of bets and goals and GG's.
Well,
go Browns.
Yes, go Browns. Okay. With all that said, thank you all for tuning in. Apologies for DJ's internet and whatnot, but ideally the weather cooperates in Buffalo going forward. So yeah, that's about it. You can find us on Twitter. Nope, that's not it. I don't know. Our little name tags went away again. God damn it. DJ, fix that. Nope, close. There we go. Oh. Okay. There we go. Perfect. Yeah. So you can find me on Twitter at Fake Moods. DJ's at DJ94. Be sure to subscribe to DJ's YouTube channel. You're probably watching this on there, but we post the Morning Skate podcast on YouTube now just to see if anyone prefers watching on it there. So late breaking news: Kirill Kaprizov is no longer listed on injured reserve, so it does seem like he will return for Saturday night. So I would put the kibosh on Minnesota bets until they post Kaprizov. At which case, I think his bets are perfectly fine. Arizona's not a good defensive team, but that's just some late breaking news. All right, guys, thank you all for tuning in. The Morning Skate podcast, everything else we said, just make sure you check it all out, and really deeply appreciate you all tuning in on what is a cold, dreary Saturday. So best of luck. Go Browns. Have a good slate, everyone, and we will see ya.
Go Browns.